to tell you a story that hopefully will reframe the way we do breeding here in the CG Center. And I'm really happy to attend IITA. So, and the reason why I'm happy is because I've heard about this incubation center, and over the last few months, Frederick and I have been going back and forth. I think this is really exciting, and it's very much part of my presentation, because I'm a very product-oriented and client-focused individual. Because it's not about the science that we do if our whole mandate is delivering product to our clients. So you're going to see a real client-focused presentation. So this is about designing our breeding programs for the future, and I've got 15 slides for me to share with you. Okay, so these are the problems I want to solve with this Module 1, and then it's going to be supported by the 2, 3, 4, and 5 modules. So I want to develop a common language within the CG and the NARS partnerships. This is extremely important to our funders, that this is not CG focused, it's a CG-NARS partnerships, because we're here to uplift the partners. The other thing that I want to talk about is variety turnovers. Variety turnovers is extremely important, and this Module 1 should help us develop a strategy to increase our ability to do variety turnovers, even though in a region where you don't have a lot of variety turnover. I want to maximize the speed to market. I want to maximize client satisfaction, breeding program improvements through measurements. I also want the link the CG and the NARS partners into a common variety replacement focus. I want to increase the return on investment and trust to the investment community by focusing on the must-wins that our investment community or our donors need us to deliver. And then I want to switch from a tool and trait-based breeding focus to a client-based focus. So this is a real paradigm shift, and I'm going to submit this over the next few days, the value of of projecting what the end looks like, and then putting things in place to get you from where you are to the end product. So I'm a student of good breeding programs. I'm also a student of effective organizations. And so I looked at different organizations, or as a student, I'm a student of Edgett and Cooper, who looked at many organizations, and they said, these are high-performing organizations, these are low-performing organizations. What's the difference between the two? So one of the things that the good ones do, and it's 4.6 times greater effectiveness than the low production group, is that the good people or the good organizations understand the client, their client base. They deliver products for the client, not because they want to deliver products based upon what they want. The other thing is they do a lot of upfront planning. And so one of the things you'll see in this new structure that I hope to present across the CG is the identification of stage gates. Then after that, what you find out is that good science, good organizations are done in teamwork. It's not done as individuals. So I submit to you that breeders are not necessarily kings when it comes to developing varieties. They are part of a team, a cross-functional team that delivers products with partnerships. And then the final one is metrics. So unless you measure something, you will do what you are measured to do. And there's a healthy dose of metrics in this Module 1. So one of the game-changing things that I want to do is I want to begin to look at thinking about product delivery in a stage gate fashion. Everyone in the world does it this way, from building of an aircraft, to building of a washing machines, to building a product in the seed industry. So somebody tells me, well, that doesn't work here in the CG system. Well, there is not an asterisk saying only the CG cannot do this. Everybody else does this. So my hope is to implement this logical, stepwise program that will conceive what the product looks like and to deliver what the product looks like. And so through collaborations across the CG, we've come up with the 1 through 6 stage, from product design, which is module 1, going through a stage gate 1, and products progress all the way from 1 through 6, where it's introduced. This looks daunting, but if you're building a Boeing 777, this is how they do it. They do it by stage gauge management. And building a 777 may be more complicated than building a variety. So if I look at module 1, I have 4 different deliverables. 1, I have to land this stage gate system. And this is just a sensitizing presentation. But in the future, we're going to get into more, in the afternoon session and afterwards, we're going to go more in depth into this program. So just see the direction I'm going without giving you a lot of detail at this point. So module 1 is first, I'm going to land the stage gate. And I got a team of advisors that's helping us develop this. And this stage gate is a systematic way of developing products. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is we're also going to talk about the variety replacement strategy. So Gates is big on this. This is a challenge for Western Africa because your variety turnover is not like the corn belt in the United States nor the lettuce industry in the Netherlands. So you have to approach the development of varieties or development of creating varieties differently than you would if you were an Iowa breeder. The other component I have to look at is the genetic gains or genetic trends assessment, and we'll talk a little bit about that through the presentation. That's part of our metrics that we'll do to help manage and give feedback to whether we're effectively breeding or not. The fourth component of this is product management, and this is what's got me excited about what's happening here at IITA. Because if you look at Go Seeds, they're actually taking products and they're making them come alive, as best as I understand. And so what my whole goal is that we were granted at least one position for product management. And product management, I'll speak of it later and in more depth, allows you to understand how your product has functioned after you release it. Because I think the thing that we struggle with the most within the CG breeding programs is once we send it through the system, it's a black box. And some breeders, they wipe their hands and say, okay, I'm done. But breeders should not be done once they release their babies into the industry. They have to understand what failed and what worked and what didn't, and you incorporate that into the next cycle of learning. And so Module 1 and Module 2 is about setting direction. Modules 3, 4, and 5 is about driving results. So there's 3 big functions that I want to talk about, and I'll go through this very quickly. The three deep dives that I'm going to conduct over the next few days is going to be 1, on looking at product advancement in the product and the management system. So one of the things that I told you earlier, that I studied efficiencies, one of the things that I think we could improve on significantly within the CG system is the management of products from the design all the way to the introduction. And I think that you're going to have management involvement or oversight in this as breeders advance products through that system. What we found out in the commercial sectors and what we found out with high-performing organizations is that they manage products. They just don't release products. And I think for us to be more effective within the CG system, we have to really understand the product before we deliver it. And then we have to help pull that product through, which is why I think the IITA group has really has something special going on here. So in this product advancement system, or in this stage gate system, we will, over the next few days, explain it, understand it, trying to understand which one of the stages, or what stage breeding looks like, but also the criteria to advance product from one stage to another. The other big component that you'll hear me talk about over the next few days is a variety replacement strategy. So when Nigeria soccer goes and plays France soccer, right? They are training to beat France in their soccer strategies. They're not trying to just generally train. And so one of the things that I really want us to hit home on is that when you are going to play another football team. I'm American. I apologize for that. So when you're playing the football team, another football team, the competing football team, you are lining up your strategy to beat that, and not necessarily just lining up to have practices. So what over time I want to teach about the variety replacement strategy and the creation of product profiles, which is different than I think the way we've done it. It's going to add us to have a little bit more discipline in our product design, but it's also going to have feedback from product management back into the hands of the breeders. So if you look at what Michael's explaining, and if you look at the world as I do in stage gates, so you can begin to look at Michael's program that he's developing with the EIB, and you can line everything up to a stage gate. So if you look at all the 5 modules that Michael referred to, module 1 is all about the product life cycle 1, stage 1. It's about product design. Module 2 is about, okay, now that you understand the product, how do we implement the product in the most efficient, fastest way possible? So it's all about delivering it. ERIE, it's a common term that's been introduced. It's delivering product at the lowest possible price, okay? And with that, everybody is now geared towards efficiency. The third and fourth and fifth are more about helping the breeding programs with the proper tools and focus that allows us to implement what the product design is going to be. Now that's really a different paradigm, right? Because we're talking now about product design. Usually in conferences, we only talk about tools. And early on, I said to you, we got to change the way we think of the world, just because we have a tool doesn't mean we use it all the time. We have to really understand what we're building. So there's that old saying that if the world looks like a nail, or if all you have is a hammer, the world looks like nails. Okay, that's not the way the world works. You have to understand what the product is you want to create and then develop the tool set accordingly. And so one of the things that our gap is the seed systems, and or the product multiplication. And according to what I've been hearing, we're going to be looking at a module on product or on the seed systems as well. Okay, so what do we do with all this? Okay, because I told you, managing project and managing the pipeline is extremely important. And we waste a lot of money when we don't understand what the pipeline looks like. So at EAR, we started implementing this pipeline, this stage gate, but we also started implementing a variety replacement strategy. So this is one of the pipelines that we're looking at for the drought group, but the second is the varieties that are to be replaced. And then what we've done is we've looked at all the pipeline, the number of lines going in from PLC 3 to 4 to 5. And so that becomes really critical, because when you are somebody in a situation as a breeding manager or a DG, you can begin to see whether we're putting too much product against our clients or we've got the right amount of product. Because you're going to find out that too much product is almost worse than not enough product. Because in too much product, you are burning budget that you don't have within the CG Center. And this is the only way that I know through stage gate management, when we put a pipeline in place, we can actually step back and look at what we've created and whether what we've created makes sense to the client. So this is what we've been starting to do within ERIE. And when we do these reviews, we look at what's behind the numbers. Because it's not just the numbers that you have in each one of the stage gates. You want to look at the pedigrees that you're introducing at it. So when a breeder advances lines, he has to, what they want to do is present to the group why they're advancing lines and why we need this product. Because what's been happening that I've seen is we just throw product at the customers, and in a few more slides you'll see what the fallacy is behind that. So if you look at well-run grocery companies, one would intuitively think that the more product you show to a customer, the more they would appreciate it, and the sales would increase. But actually, it's the reverse. And if you look at customer management and customer management and buying habits, you will find that the less that you give a customer, the more that they will take that product. And so there's a really good TED Talks. If you get a chance, go to TED Talks and look at this presentation of the paradox of choice. And what it comes down to is he makes a presentation that sometimes we give people too many choices. And I think sometimes, from what I've seen within the CG system, we give too many products to the customer. And what we need to do more effectively is actually manage those products than dumping the products. So when somebody gives me 10 products to look at, I just immediately walk away and say, I'm not gonna buy anything. And that's actually, when you look at the paradox of choice, that's actually what people do. When you confuse them with too many products without any support, they don't take any of them. And that's why I think you have stagnant product turnover, okay? I think that's one of the reasons why you have stagnant turnover. And one of the reasons why I think product management is so important. And one of the reasons why we need discipline within our variety release program. Because at the end of the day, we could do a better job without wasting a lot of money if we can characterize our material better through the CG and NARS partnerships. And this is my last slide. And I'll go into that a little bit more when we go into more of the detailed session. The last slide is what we measure is what you do. And so one of the things that we are going to be looking at is a simple and more complex ways of measuring genetic gains. And so in the future, my hope is that you will be given a recommendation on processes to measure genetic gains. And the genetic gains could be looked at as a commercial, on how the commercial people do it when they just keep looking at a test of the breeding program outputs, or you can look at the actual project itself to see how effectively the genetic gains are in with the projects. Thank you.